Hey, what's up? This is Frank Mandolini of the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. Thank you for checking this video and make sure to leave a thumbs up below. And in the description, you will find the link to follow me on all social media and on Spotify and Apple Podcast, which conveniently is the place where you should leave a 5-star review to help other people get into this wonderful podcast named Last Minute Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much. Enjoy the video.
Yeah, so the Legend of La Mariposa is an all-ages lucha libre fantasy series. It's a comic with wrestling in it, but you don't have to be a huge wrestling fan to be into it. There's plenty there for wrestling fans. There's plenty there for non-wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm.
It was essentially my attempt to kind of work all these sort of the mythic cultural aspects of wrestling in general, but lucha libre in particular, and sort of turn it into a really fun fantasy series. So it's really inspired by European Franco-Belgian adventure comics.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, a lot of my kind of early influences, I was thinking about this recently, for the series actually derived from a few years that I spent in Italy when I was very small.
Really?
Which is kind of
whereabouts?
Yeah. I lived in Trieste for a few years when I was very, very little. But
wonderful place.
Some of the first cartoons I watched were there, and they were stuff like Tiger Mask. You guys know him as L'Uomo Tigre. I'm sorry for the pronunciation.
Tiger Man. Yeah, translated.
Yeah, Tiger Man. Yeah, absolutely. I a lot of the kind of the Topolino and Paparino kind of big digest books. Those were huge to me. So it's kind of like I've been sort of thinking about my influences recently, and I realized, oh damn, a lot of them actually derive from Italy. Knights of the Zodiac was like a less connected one, but definitely kind of a force as well.
You just listed a lot of my favorites, you know what? You said Topolino, which probably our English-speaking audience wouldn't know who we are talking about. It's Mickey Mouse. Italy is the only place where we have another name for Mickey Mouse. We with Topolino, which is it used to be two separate words, Topo and Lino. Lino is the name, Topo means mouse. And because it was like to circumvent the censorship during the fascism. So they couldn't use the name Mickey Mouse because it was American. So they created
that's fascinating.
They created their own version called Topolino, which
cool.
Which was basically a ripoff. But it was such a cool ripoff that Disney, many years later, Disney decided to let Italy keep publishing that. Those are original stories from born from a ripoff, and that's
absolutely fascinating. I really like kind of comic book history and how it plays into kind of global history. And like I always think it's really interesting because I'm in the UK. And we've got our own comics tradition, but that's in a lot of ways is kind of been overtaken by America, and sort of the manga explosion that we had in the early 2000s. But I understand that like Italy was importing manga on like a massive scale before it ever made it anywhere else in the world, I think.
Yeah.
Which is something I was really interested to learn while I was kind of like doing a bit of kind of research. But I always find it really fascinating because like I always wondered how come the American comics didn't kind of get the foothold in Europe, and a lot of it has to do with post-war, cultural preservation laws in France, and as you've just kind of explained, the fascism in Italy and everything like that. So that's always super interesting to learn about stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's created a own kind of art, not just for comic books. Of course, that applies to music and a lot of other stuff. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. But sorry to interrupt you. You were saying that you had this influence from the Franco-Belgian comic books and Italian as well. So sorry.
Yeah. So no, that's cool, man. That was, I mean, for me, that was a really interesting side little digression. So I hope the listeners liked it too. Yeah. So stuff like Tiger Mask is a big one. It's a huge one. I'm actually working on a La Mariposa graphic novel that will be, done in the future. That's a big sort of homage to Tiger Mask, and it's really just about taking pro wrestling and lucha libre and sort of extending it to, the kind of stories that they want us to believe in the ring. So, stuff like the Santo movies of the 60s, where it's like, yes, there is wrestling and there are wrestling matches, but also they will fight aliens and demons and, dark wizards and stuff like that. So, that was kind of the plan, because like a lot of wrestling comics that I really enjoy focus heavily on the industry, but for me the appeal has always been the story and like the pageantry, and that was what that's what I'm trying to go for with La Mariposa, is to try and get my favorite bits of wrestling into like one big comic series.